when it comes to faces in Japan, people have really weird descriptions. My friend Ellen, who joined us on Journey Across Japan, the server, the woman just went up to her and went, "Oh, you have a small face." And we were like, what does that mean? It's like, is it like slim? Is that good?
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broader. We're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing?
I'm good. I think I might be turning into a vampire, Chris. A strange vampire. I've already got the Widow's Peak, and I'm just rather concerned. I've changed mobile phones, and I've gone to from one Samsung to another, and my fingerprints aren't working.
Oh my God! Why?
They're just not working. It just doesn't.
That's eerie, isn't
I
it?
just don't know what I'm doing wrong. Really, I think I'm. Can you have really dry hands that mean your fingerprints don't work? I'm a little bit concerned that I might be losing fingerprintage.
You've burned off your fingerprints to evade crime.
Yeah.
Imagine on the iPhone it uses face detection, whatever. That's very, very effective and very impressive. But imagine it just not working one day. That'd be kind of creepy.
Yeah, and you discover you've become a non-person. Yeah, I mean, my hands are kind of dry at the moment, but I mean, I can't be in a situation where my fingerprints fall off. It's like it's a little bit like when is it pineapple farmers, because of the acids in the pineapples? Isn't it a misnomer that their fingerprints start rubbing off and you start to get smooth fingerprints if you're a pineapple farmer?
My knowledge of pineapple farming is more limited than I'd care to admit.
You call this Abroad in a Pineapple Farm, do you? You call this podcast an Abroad in a Pineapple Farm, and you're not coming up with pineapple farm facts, for crying out loud.
Enough of
Letting
this.
everyone
I want to know how the story ends, Pete, on the Toyota Crown car. We all want to know. A few months ago, Pete began the process of importing a Toyota Crown, a very old-fashioned car used as a taxi in Japan. It left Yokohama docks sometime in September, I think. We've been tracking its progress throughout. Yeah. It's luckily, I don't think it's near Yemen now because it's probably been hijacked on the way over. But it arrived, didn't it, about a week or two ago? It arrived at Southampton.
It arrived about a week ago, yeah.
Hey.
I'm happy to say it has been liberated from Southampton docks by some bigger boys that I have employed to do it because I am too busy, because it arrived at a stupid time for me. And it is here. It is present. The battery is completely dead. I'm a little bit concerned that, I know car stuff is boring, so apologies for people who are bored of this entire thing. It will end at some point. It is nearing the crescendo. It is nearing the apex of this story. We are in a hellhole of battery issues. It's currently in limp mode. It's limping around, doing little bits and bobs. I just think they seem to be confused that it's kind of like the battery isn't working and it's doing this and that. And I'm going, guys, it's been on. It had a battery replaced in Japan before it left, and it's currently just playing silly buggers because you just haven't charged the battery. It's been on a boat for 2 months, for crying out loud. It's gonna lose charge. And
do you not have a jump
it doesn't have any
start
fluid in it. It starts, but I just don't think it. I think it just starts to play silly buggers after a while, and they just need to charge the bloody battery. But
have you driven it at all?
Even though that. I've not touched it. It's in Southampton. I've employed some bigger boys to do it. They're taking it to an MOT centre, but they really. I just get the sense that they're used to sort of taking out, sporty sort of Toyota sort of new ones. I think I don't think they're used to 20-year-old Yakuza rides. I don't think they're used to 20-year-old diplomats cars with really thick glass. So that's my only concern. So hopefully it'll get to a MOT centre at some point in some form of repair. But I don't know. It's just I just think it needs fluids. Give it fluids, for crying out. It's basically, there's a scene in Short Circuit where Johnny Five, it's a film from the 90s I'm mentioning, has been attacked by some rotten gang hoodlums, and he's arrived, and all of his belts are falling off, the wires are coming out of his back, his eyes are all broken, and oil is spurting out of his guts, and that's what the Toyota Century is at the moment. And I just need the bigger boys to sort of just buck their ideas and sort it out for me, because that's what I am paying the money for. I just don't think they're ready for the problems that a Toyota Century will bring. and I'm just stressed out about it.
I wonder
Bigger
how
boys.
many. I said it was the Toyota Crown earlier. That's like the rich man's Toyota. Toyota Century is a bit more ragged and rigged.
No, the Toyota Century is the best one. Toyota Crown is a
All right.
taxi.
Well, it must be the first Toyota Century in the UK. You just don't see them in the UK.
No, there's
Why
a. I tell you that. Have I not told you about the guy who literally lives in my town? Who's got one?
Oh,
He's
really?
like there's a random guy who lives in my town and he's got an absolute boner for Japanese domestic market cars, and he's got a Toyota Century because I saw basically on the Toyota Century owners Facebook page that I thought I'm gonna have to get up close and personal with these buggers because these absolute nerdozoids, because they'll obviously have some idea about where I get bits and bobs from it, because you can't buy any of the stuff here. You got to import it from Japan. But so I was like, I'll get on there, figure out when mine turns up and it's dying like it is now, I'll need a bit of help. And so this guy happened to be in my literal, like, he's about 2 miles away from me. And I basically messaged him. I said, and he was, and he wouldn't reply for ages. He'd seen the message. And I just think that he felt that, like, he was the only one with a Toyota Century in the town, and he wanted to be the only guy with a Toyota Century in the town. And I was like the guy who was kind of, this young upstart, this young Turk, trying to encroach on his world. So I finally made friends with him, and he's as nerdy as you can imagine.
Maybe you
Being
can
a
fix it
Japanese
for you.
domestic market car enthusiast. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I'm sorry that
We'll
after all
get
this
there.
time you still can't drive the bloody thing. The time.
It needs to,
wait.
I can't. I would never be able to have driven it at this point because it needs to be MOT. It needs to be registered the first time. But I'm just surprised that these lads that I've employed to take it to the MOT centre, who are supposed to be, this is the sort of thing that they do, seem to be confused that it's got a flat battery. I'm like, guys, come on. I learned to drive 2 years ago, and I know it probably would have a flat battery.
I just can't believe the journey it's been on, right? Like, because obviously when you think when I think of Japan and the UK, you think plane, because anything else just seems like insanity. We talk about William Adams, the samurai, the guy from Gillingham, Kent, where I'm from, that neck of the woods. Took a 2-year boat ride to get here. Your car took 3 or 4 months. Like, that's just mind-boggling to think a car.
Well,
took that
it's just
long.
kind of crazy that this car was resigned or consigned to be a car that would just
Die.
hang out in Oita, where it came from, and then
Oita.
suddenly
Wow.
it's in Southampton or Leon Sea or whatever.
I'm giving a talk in Oita
Oita.
in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'll
Well, you can go down to Ken at goonet.com and tell him off for not filling it with petrol. It's absolutely on the bones of its heart. It's on fumes.
Oh my god! I will have to pop in. That'll be hilarious. I'm
Yeah.
giving a talk at like a university in Beppe or something.
Oh, that's
Don't-
cool.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about. Riotro, for like a year, Riotro's been like, this university wants you to give a talk, and I've been like, I'm doing things. Sorry, mate, I can't. He's finally convinced me to do it, and he's told me nothing. He hasn't told me what it's about, what I have to say, what I have to do, and I'm thinking I'll just plagiarise my TED talk from like 4 years ago. I'll just copy that word for word and
Nice.
hope nobody notices. That's the secret. Plagiarise your TED talk. We got a story this week from Brian in Okinawa. He says, "Hello, chivalrous Chris and preposterous Pete, not prosperous Pete, preposterous Pete.
No, not
I've
now.
started. His car's not very prosperous. I've started.
It's made me not prosperous.
I've started a book club with several Japanese women I've met who found out about my column that I write about my experiences in Japan and Okinawa. They asked me to read a book called Idle, Burning. It's idle, burning. That's why I said it with a pause. It is a Japanese book that's been translated into English. It was okay, but not necessarily my cup of tea as it's written for young adult audiences. I was asked after our last meeting to suggest a book, and I suggested the Abroad in Japan book. Yes, good job, Brian. They all agreed, and they're eager to read it. Background: the genesis of this book group meeting is to use it as a language exchange forum. That's a good idea. Kind of an interesting take on an Ikaiwa kind of language conversation class with some sense of purpose to it. We typically share intricate details of each other's languages like idioms and other sayings. After looking your photo up, all the women exclaimed that you are a sauce face. What the fuck is the sauce face? You are a sauce face? What is that?
SAUCE or SOURCE? Like it's in the Source engine, Half-Life 2. I don't know.
It's SAUCE, so sauce is in like ketchup. You like a sauce face. Your face is still red like last week. Like you've been rubbing ketchup all over your face. You're a sauce face. Anyway, it was a phrase they had just taught me. I died laughing at the absurdity of thinking of you with gyoza or soy sauce covering and staining your face. Have you ever heard of sauce face before? They also had a phrase called lightly salted face. Brian, in Okinawa. Sounds racist. Sauce face.
So is it kind of like you've got dark skin? Like I don't know what. What is it then? You look like you've eaten loads of sauce. I don't know. You look wet. I don't know what is wrong with your face, Chris.
People, when it comes to faces in Japan, people have really weird descriptions. My friend Ellen, who joined us on Journey Across Japan, when we were in a coffee shop in Aomori, the server, the woman just went up to her and went, "Oh, you have a small face." And we were like, what does that mean? It's like, is it like slim? Is that good? But it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you don't know if it's a compliment or not. It's just like, you have a sauce face. You have a small face.
If the next thing is you looking at you being ushered into a back room to look down a pipe to get some keys out or something. You have small face. Perfect for job of finding keys in sewer.
I wonder because when I was at school teaching, I did put on weight one year. People came up to me and were like, "Oh, you have a big face." So I'm thinking small face could mean slim, or maybe
you should see my ass. You should see my legs. Oh, you're the worst.
Sauce leg.
They started it.
Honestly.
Sauce leg. Old sauce legs.
Ridiculous. Oh, my God. Well, it is a brand new year, 2024. We did cover in the last episode how Japan has unfortunately got off to a bad start this year. Guys, and of course, in the description box below, you can donate for the earthquake relief to the Japanese Red Cross. But I thought this week we'd talk about New Year in a more positive way. We always do this for the last 500 years we've done this podcast. What are your New Year's plans? What are your resolutions for 2024, Mr. Donaldson? I dread to think.
It's invariably to lose weight, but I'm a little bit concerned that I've lost the weight before Christmas. And I sort of spent Christmas trying to eat as much food and as much crap as possible because I did lose about a stone. Whoa. And I was trying... And I haven't been drinking all that much. And
what's a stone in kilograms?
A stone?
In kilograms?
I don't bloody know. Quite a few.
I'll look it up.
I was 12 stone, which is not great for someone who's 5 feet. I was cracking on for 12 stone in the morning.
Well, that's 6.3 kilograms. That's quite a lot. Bloody hell, what'd you do?
It's quite a lot. It is quite a lot. And
tell me the secret.
I wasn't eating breakfast. No, I did try and lose weight.
Starvation.
Well, yeah, the fasting and all that. Having a crack at that sort of thing. And I've stopped eating balls of Haribo, and I've stopped eating so much licorice, and I've stopped eating chocolate, and I've been so busy, I've not really had time to have a bloody booze up as well, so I've not been drinking all that much either. Now, but I've tried this before, apart from the not drinking thing. I've tried this before, and I never was able to lose any weight, really. And so I am a little bit concerned that it's not related to any of my activities. So maybe So over Christmas, I've been trying to eat as much crap as possible to try and sort of add a few pounds. And I'm like, it's fine. It was just because I stopped drinking quite so much.
I think, if I have one resolution this year, it's just cut out sugar, all the sugar. I'm not very good at modifying my diet. And also maybe eat out less. I do eat out. Just so much. Or I order stuff to the apartment or to the studio, whatever. I need to eat more like real food and just more fresh ingredients.
Well, we had one of those like kind of recipe boxes kind of delivered, Hello Fresh.
Oh yeah.
Want to sponsor the show? It's a great advert. I usually eat Haribo, but now I've been eating stuff like a lime.
I want to get sponsored by Haribo. That'll be good.
Yes.
I'll take that.
You look a little bit like the boy from Haribo.
You fucking what?
You do. If we could there'll be a really good Halloween costume if we get you in some dungarees.
Oh,
lovely.
my God.
Put on a bit of timber, you'd look like the Haribo boy. I think with that thing, like I'm terrible for portion control. Like we would cook like a pasta bake, and it'd be like a 4-man pasta bake that we were just absolutely chowing down and just eating the whole thing between us. Like we're not great at that sort of thing. And then I'd be having like lattes every day and stuff. So like I think having something like a recipe box where you're just cooking like quite fresh food and stuff, or relatively fresh food, and it does make the difference because it just means that that's the only food you've got really in the house. So yeah, so I recommend that. Just portions, just not eating massive dinners.
I think for me, it's not about portion, it's about just quality of food, eating less sugar. I think my greatest achievement of the last year is obviously 2022. I don't know what year we're in anymore, what's going on. But I did like the chess boxing, the cycle, the Spartan race, all that stuff. I got really fit, or fit relative to my usual standard. And then last year I did fuck all. I did like nothing. I'm really annoyed. Like at the end of 2022, after chess boxing, all that, I was like, right, 2023, I'm gonna fucking climb Everest backwards. I'm gonna sail down the Amazon in a canoe. I'm gonna kayak across the Pacific, and I did nothing. Well, that's not fair. I did cycle around Kyushu, and that was quite good. But I didn't do a lot, and it's a miracle that I've managed to keep off the weight that I had before. Like I think I've done all right, but I want to keep that up, and I want to keep fit with minimal effort. And the way to do that is just not to have sugar. And
well, I mean, you're
food.
already sort of getting involved with the whole the aforementioned Wim Hof method, where you spent quite a lot of time in a tent in freezing conditions on your journey across Japan. So that's going to help your heart rate. That's going to help you metabolize some of the food, I think, or not metabolize it.
That is true. That is true. I think 2024. My aim is to just go all out and do some crazy shit, and that's the stupidest aim I've ever had. But I don't know. I just want this year to be kind of like, now I've settled into Tokyo. There's a lot of moving around last year, and it felt like just moving around to Tokyo and all that stuff. And now I'm settled here with the studio. I can sort of hit full throttle and really go for it. Got to finish Journey Across Japan first, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got 5 episodes at the time of filming, probably 4 when this one comes out. But still got to finish Journey Across Japan, classic Abroad Japan style. Not only do we fail at daily videos, but they're still not coming out. But I think 2024 is going to be a good year. I hope so. Anyway, I hope so.
I would say that like people can do daily videos, but they're a certain kind of daily videos. They're just basically a glorified live stream. Your videos are different. Like, you can't do that. You'd need a team of like 50 people to get every scene put together into a cohesive video and stuff. And then you've got to spend about 3 hours trying to figure out the artwork and the title and talk about food, because that seems to be the only thing that anyone's interested in on YouTube these days.
Tis true. One cool thing. Do you know about Fukubukuro, by the way? Back to the topic of New Year's. Fukubukuro. Do you know what that means?
Fukubukuro. Is it
dive deep into Pete Dawson's? Well, fuku does mean clothing. Yeah, it's a fair guess. Yeah. But it's not. It's not that.
Is it Ikebukuro, but it's got a big jacket on?
Ikebukuro with some clothes. No. Yeah. Fukubukuro means lucky bags. And every year, New Year's, it gets exciting around Christmas, New Year's, because lots of shops get rid of their excessive stock by sticking them in lucky bags. So it kind of gets really fun going to shops at Christmas. Every shop gets rid of their excess inventory by just sticking them in bags. And you can get quite lucky. Sometimes the bags have like hundreds of dollars worth of stuff for like, $12, or you get nothing. I know it used to be quite a big thing, like all the YouTubers in Japan, including Charlotte, would just buy lucky bags and film what was in them, and you would get insane views because people just love the excitement of not knowing what you're going to get. Like this year,
I've said it before. I watch a used car dealer do the exact same thing. He goes to pick up a car he's bought sight unseen. He turns up and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh." He opens up like the back and he just says the same thing every time. There's no parcel shelf. I have to go on eBay and get a parcel shelf. He goes in the front and he goes, "Oh, there's no like cap on this oil thing," and it's just like a surprise box. It's like a kind of a lucky box for grown up, boring old men.
That's pretty good. A surprise box. I like that.
Surprise box, yeah.
Don't know what would be in the Abroad Japan Fukubukuro. probably some Natsuki t-shirts. some.
I'd put my haters in my surprise Happy New Year box. That's where they're going, for crying out loud. But it is nice to get these. I think that's why these kind of like these Japanese like snack boxes are so popular, because like you get them and it's a nice little surprise to get these little bits and odds and sods and stuff.
I mean, obviously, I think one of the few sponsors I work with, Tokyo Treat. And this isn't a sponsor plug or anything like it.
No.
One of the reasons I work with them is it's kind of cool. Like whenever I do, like I stick them in a video or whatever, and I plug them. It's really fun, like opening the box personally and being like, "Oh, what's inside this one?" And they're always like localized to different areas. So I get the thrill of opening a box and not quite knowing what's in it. I think we should sell abroad in Japan lucky bags. I really don't know what we're putting in it.
What would be in it? Just things.
Just like a bit of fake food, like this
bit of fake food. Dog poo bags from me, little dog poo bags.
Oh my god,
they're quite useful. You could use them for food. You could use them for a fun. They're earth rated, so you stick them in the ground and they'll break up in about. They sort of blowing up. Oh.
The absolute state of Pete Donaldson.
Lucky bag. Maybe these could be the bags themselves.
My God.
Oh,
yeah,
everything smells of lavender now. Disgusting.
I'm excited for 2024. I think it'll be a good year. I'm feeling optimistic. I don't know why.
But you, but you wouldn't like. But you're not going to get involved with the whole the lucky bag kind of vibe at New Year's, because like obviously like Starbucks have got one out, 8,000 yen, and it's like obviously bits of coffee and little bags and stuff like that. Bit Camera though are selling a SIM-free phone for 22,000 yen. How much is that now? Probably about 150 quid, 170 quid.
About £130.
£130, not bad. So like, it's all about like Japanese retailers, like you say, like getting rid of all of their stock to start the new year afresh. But like, I'd be quite excited for a SIM-free phone for 130 quid. It might be something good.
Yeah, no, I was looking this up. So Big Camera, one of Japan's biggest like electronic stores, I think they had a lucky bag for about 21,000 yen. And yeah, you get a phone that normally costs like 34,000 yen, which is pretty awesome. And people like, for this lucky bag, the queue was out the door, down the street, down the road, because people want to get a piece of the action, right? I think that's a really cool kind of idea. Like, I've never heard of this, actually. It's the first time I've heard. Because when I think, like, lucky bags, I usually think, like, clothes shops, shampoo, body shop style places. Like, an electronics store doing this with camera phones is, like, just so cool, like, electronics.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know this existed. That being said, I don't think I would queue for anything. Like, the queue is insane. It's, like, 3-4 hour queue for this. And I'm just too lazy for that. It just wouldn't have happened on my watch. No chance. No.
You got Final Fantasy ones, the Square Enix do ones and stuff. But it's all like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of how like video games work. It's kind of how media works. Like people love this sort of stuff, don't they?
They do. But I still don't know if it's worth waiting 3 hours for a phone. I don't know. Pretty cool though.
Probably not.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know Bit Camera did that. That's pretty awesome. We're back in just a moment, guys. We'll stories, comments, and questions in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
Hello, Chris and Pete. I'm a long-time viewer of Abroad in Japan. The first video I saw years ago was 12 tips for learning Japanese, and recently started listening to the podcast as well. I have a question for Chris. Have you ever randomly encountered any of your old students? If you have, do you have any stories to share? I'd love to see more videos like, I tried walking across Tokyo in a day. So now you know, Chris. That's what you need to be working on.
I've had a few encounters. I remember there was the school president, this really cool guy who was in my English club. I remember I was probably 3 years after I finished my job, I was downtown Sakata visiting a friend. We went to a snack bar and I opened the door and I was going in and he walked past down the street. I remember feeling a bit awkward because, I don't know, I know snack bars aren't seedy or weird, but like, I don't know, it just looks a bit wrong.
They're definitely weird.
Well... Yeah, there's nothing else to do in bloody Sakata, though, apart from get drunk with Natsuki. You have to go to a snack bar. And it was a bit awkward. There were, like, women dressed kind of seductively and just at the door. And then my student walking past going, oh, Chris Sensei. Or I'm like, well, I'm not a teacher anymore now. Am I still a sensei? I don't know.
I can observe seduction.
I just felt a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But I've had other situations. Like, I had students message me before, and I don't, or like ex-students, obviously, and it always felt a bit like, I don't think it's inappropriate, but I never replied to them because I felt like, I don't. It's kind of a sad thing. But like one of my best students, I remember I finished school 2 years later. She messaged me. I didn't reply because again, I just feels like, what's the parameters here? I don't know what's right or wrong.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
but then I bumped into her in a coffee shop in Sendai, and she was like, "You didn't reply to my message." I was like, "Oh, fuck, yeah, sorry." But I'm glad you're doing well.
Let me explain to you about power dynamics and how it's weird.
I don't know. Yeah, I do know folks that talk to their students from afterwards and whatnot, but like I never felt like I should, and like, but no, it was cool bumping into her and hearing about her story. And that's the sad thing about being a teacher. Like, you have these classes with students for years. Some students I taught for 3 years, got on really well with them, awesome folks, and then you just never see them again, and they go off and live their life, and it's like, fuck, I was invested in this person, I believed in them, I wanted them to do well in class, and then they're gone, and you never see them again. And I remember I finished teaching, and I was feeling quite emotional. I was like, it's sad, my students, I'm not going to see them again. And it made me wonder if any of the teachers at my school cared about me. And there was two teachers. Well, there was two teachers in particular that I really liked at my school when I was at secondary school. And I dropped them an email, and I was like, just catching up, filling them in on what I've been up to. Never heard back from them, though. I was like, fuck.
Yes!
I'm nothing.
You just got Chris Broad in, baby! Yes! I would say that, like, there's a real kind of... it's quite a nice kind of... you're sort of growing up, and you know that the world is different to what you imagined it when you were a child. When you are graduating from somewhere and you realise that the teachers are going to have another class before you, like certainly the most intense classes at school were like probably my A levels, history and English and stuff, and it was a more grown up relationship because you were 16, 17, 18, and you felt like you were more on the teacher's level than you had been previously, and we all felt like we were grown up, and we weren't wearing a school uniform and all that stuff. And then as you sort of grow up a little bit older, you genuinely think, they must be really, proud of, the results. And I guess they are to a certain extent. But like, there'll be another year. They've got other kids to worry about. They've got other people to be thinking about. And it's a real kind of like crushing realization that you ain't that bloody special. And there'll be another Pete Donaldson and Chris Broad turning up pretty soon. But yeah, it's. I remember I was talking to somebody who works in juvenile correctional facilities. Not really. I mean, basically someone who works in the social care sector with kids who are finding it difficult and stuff and getting into trouble. And she said the best thing is never seeing them again. You know what I mean? Because kids go out of these systems and then come back and go out and come back, and knowing and she said the most satisfying thing is to say goodbye to them and never see them again, because you know for a fact they're not getting back in trouble, so that they've corrected their path a little bit, which is quite nice. So yeah, I mean, I do wonder what happened to a lot of my students, but it's hopefully they're doing all right. But it's definitely one of the hardest things about being a teacher, I think. Man, I loved history. I'd love to hear from people who do like TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language on like the JET program or whatever, but they've got quite strong accents, and I'd very much like to hear a load of Japanese kids coming out of school talking in really heavy Welsh or Cornish accents or something.
Unfortunately, that never happened with me. I don't think I tried to teach the British accent; it didn't work. They teach American English in Japanese
Everything's American,
schools.
That's wasn't it? Yeah, spelling and everything. Yeah,
it led to some weird situations where I had to sort of change my accent sometimes, though, and didn't like that so much. And also spelling got confusing.
Yes.
We've got one here from Martin who says, "Hello, congenial Chris and picturesque Pete. My name is Martin from New Zealand, and I'm currently at the tail end of my 3-week visit to Japan. I visited Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima, and I'm spending the last week in Tokyo hitting up all the nerd culture and shopping areas. My question for both of you, can you give me your opinion of the 1 yen coin? I have in my travels collected roughly 500,000 of them, but struggle to find a place to use them. I end up panicking at the convenience store and pay using notes. What should I do with all the ones I've collected so far? As someone who lives here, Chris, and as someone who travels here, Pete, what do you do with the pile of coins?" Thanks for the podcast. Helps me through the day. Keep up the good work. Martin. Yeah, the 1 yen coin, it just feels so tacky and rubbish. Like in the UK, it's kind of weighty, this weighty metal. In Japan, it's just this really... It almost feels like plastic. It's so light and rubbish. The one thing
it's
that
like
I will say...
aluminium, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And what I will say is 7-Eleven, they've started with their like tills having a place where you can put the coins in yourself. So what I do is my wallet's always filled with bloody change coins, and I just shove them all in and I stick them in the thing, and you don't feel so sheepish, because you often feel like a bit of a dick, don't you? Like paying with exact
putting them on those little sort of rubberized trays when you
yeah.
That was quite a surprising change for me last time I went to Japan. Was in 7-Eleven and in the konbinis, like you pay for something, but then they basically just direct you to the screen in front of you, and you don't really sort of deal with the teller themselves. Like you've got a little machine, you can just throw in whatever coins you want. But I would usually just fill a sock full of coins, and use it as a club to defeat my opponents. But with the Japanese 1 yen coin, it's just too light. There's nothing to it, is it? Really? Like you sort of bite into it. It's very plasticky.
Couldn't kill anyone with a 1 yen coin. Let's not test that really theory. Couldn't. But yeah, 7-Eleven, seek it out and stick all the coins in that damn ATM.
Stick all the coins in there,
honestly, I have to make a trip several times a week because it just gets so annoying having to change. And Japan's still a bit behind on like card payments. In the UK, everything's done on a card. In Japan, you still need to have cash on you, unfortunately, for these things. So bear that in mind if you do come here. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming into abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back later in the week, guys, to all over again. But for now, no matter where you might be, out in the big wide world, have yourself a great few days. We'll see you right back here to do it all over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now.